So Stephen Colbert grabbed a hold of the Mad Pooper out of Colorado Springs. There's a lady going around pooping on people's sidewalks. And she's done it twice. And then the lady even confronts her, and then she says, sorry. I remember it actually. Well, here it is.
Has had enough. They say a woman is defecating on their sidewalk near Briargate and Union in Colorado Springs. The family says they've caught her in the act twice now.
Twice? You know, they say, poop on my sidewalk once, shame on you. Poop on my sidewalk twice. Really? You're pooping on my sidewalk again? Are you okay? Serious. This is my serious face. This is serious. This is serious. This woman is still at large, and the news media has dubbed her the Mad Pooper. I'm going to go on a limb and say I don't think the mad is necessary. That's like calling someone the crazy chainsaw murderer. No, this guy is a chainsaw murderer, only he's not right in the head.
The pooper.
Unfortunately, there are eyewitnesses. Pants around ankles in broad daylight. Her kids saw it happen first.
They're like, there's a lady taking a boat. And so I came outside.
Lady.
Oh, dear goodness. And so I was like, are you serious? Are you really taking a
Lady
poop
pooper.
right here in front of my kids? And she's like, yeah, sorry. I was like, are you serious? Are you really taking a poop right here in front of my kids? And she's like, yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
You know, I've always said there are two things we're sorry just can't fix. Lying to a friend and pooping on the sidewalk. And the Colorado Springs Police Department are high alert. One sergeant said, quote, it's abnormal. It's not something I've seen in my career for someone to repeatedly do such a thing. It's uncharted territory for me. Never seen it in his career. Hard not to feel for this sergeant. I bet he's just weeks away from retirement, and he's getting too old for this.
Literally getting too old for that shit. So, good joke by Stephen Colbert. I think he's got one more good one coming up here.
Time officers, do your duty. So, here's the thing.
So he's telling the officers to do their duty, and he's, was putting himself in that, the sergeant who was weeks away from retirement. He's tired of this shit, literally the shit from the Mad Pooper, a lady Mad Pooper, and I don't know, have they confronted her? Have they talked to this person? Have they found who this person was? And the fact that she did it twice, was that family being targeted, or was it just happened to be the moment in time when, it hit, right? She's just jogging, and she's like, God, twice in 2 days here. I guess, when you gotta go. Or is it a homeless person? Perhaps it's a homeless person, and just there's no place to shit. And she did say sorry. It's a sidewalk, right? I remember going out into my yard, and there was some cat or dog shit that was, in a pile in the lawn. So, everybody's freaking out because it's a human that's doing this. It's bad, don't do that. I'm not encouraging it. But the fact that it's making national headlines, this is what we're talking about nationally, the Mad Pooper. Okay, people do bizarre shit all the time. I want to mention this real quick, ballot issue 1A. It's written in all caps. Ballot issue 2B and then ballot issue number 300 are written in all caps. And I have a theory that perhaps the all caps might be a turnoff to voters. It looks like you're yelling at them. Ballot issue 1A. Shall Pueblo County taxes be increased $10 million? And so it looks like they're yelling at them. Nobody wants to be yelled at. Meanwhile, the Enterprise and the strange mayor is in nice, low. So that means that strange mayor will have a better chance of passing him. That street repair enterprise, I'm in favor of it. It's hard to be against it. $12 a year to help with street repair. It's on the water bill. I don't know how long it is. It's probably forever, right? So forever tax on our water bills to repair our streets. But I don't know, $12 a year. It doesn't seem like it's that much. Yeah, and we can, have diamond green streets, right? We can encrust our streets with diamonds and gold and silver, so hopefully that makes millions of dollars for them. But strange mayor is a bad idea. And then these other issues, they're all in caps. So ballot question 2B is the 24 police. Question 300 is Jenny Paulson's small army, and then the ballot issue 1A is Garrison Ortiz Ministry of Love. The torture chamber is going to be right next to the judicial. There's Bill Maher, who's talking about the purist in the Democratic Party.
Okay.
He keeps fucking up.
Nancy Pelosi was giving a little speech the other day. I'm going to read what the protesters said to her on DACA, because I think she and Chuck Schumer pretty much saved their bacon a couple of weeks ago. And she was interrupted by a bunch of protesters. Apparently they weren't satisfied that she went far enough, and they said Democrats created an out-of-control deportation.
That's true. The Democrats did create an out-of-control deportation machine. Obama deported more people than every other fucking president since before him. So he created this deportation machine. Now Trump is at the helm, and he's making it worse, right? He's only wants the scientists and engineers from other people's countries. But even then, don't we have scientists and engineers here? So maybe just accept no immigrants. Let's just cut all immigration. Comment on what he said in the very beginning there. I agree that Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi saved DACA. They did save DACA. He was on, warpath. He was about ready to get rid of it. Then he, switched course, and he was like, God, they've been living here their whole lives. They're dreamers, right? How can he get rid of DACA? So he reversed course. And if Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, they're in that office or whatever, he's working with Democrats now. So I feel like that was a good moment for them too, and they did save DACA. So I can give Democrats credit where credit is due, but also be my purest self. Yes, the Democrats created a deportation machine. Yes, they could go farther, but they're not in power, so really all they can do is oppose, and they, did good, in their opposition. So they opposed, they obstructed, and DACA is still the law of the land.
Machine. And
so I feel like Bill Maher just has these strawman people. So, I can appreciate Democrats, but also
problem often now with the Democratic Party, where the people who are the purists, I guess is the kindest way to say it, are never satisfied and seem to always be attacking the people who are their best ally in a world that is not perfect and where compromises must be made.
You're absolutely right. I wouldn't call them purists. I mean, I understand they think of themselves as purists. They're absurdists. They're fantasists.
Right.
Attacking Nancy.
Okay, so he just keeps on getting these sycophants in there. Nobody is challenging Bill Maher on any of his fucking bullshit. Now, there's only one issue I'm going to bring up, okay? So when it comes to being a purist, Hillary Clinton was for the war. She was for the border wall. She was said that the research is still out on marijuana. She was for corporations, the Goldman Sachs. She was a warmonger who loved Kissinger. She was a Goldwater girl. So she was, right-wing, perhaps libertarian, but not a fucking left-wing Democrat. She wasn't a Democrat. She wasn't a progressive, and that's where the Democratic Party should be at. But, a long time ago, Bill Clinton found out that if you triangulate and you sell out the progressives, but then you cut your losses. Progressives are here, conservatives are here, so let's just stay right here. And they've been trying to ride that moderate wave for quite some time, and they're able to get into power for it. But now it's, the time is gone. And they're neoliberal now, and they're fucking right-wing conservatives. So when they're all about the war, when they're all about a border wall, when they're all about Goldman Sachs, and then the marijuana issue, the research is still out. So would she have been going after the states that have legalized marijuana too? And, Goldman Sachs, so she's for the 1%. She is the 1%. And the issue that I think about that I like to bring up to anybody that wants to bitch about this stuff is instant runoff voting. He's an anti-independent zealot. Bill Maher is against independents and third parties. He's an independent racist. He's a third party racist. So instant runoff voting. You want the independents to not be spoiler effect, then this is the same argument he keeps on saying. If you want the independents to not be a spoiler, then get instant runoff voting. Instant runoff voting gets you a majority winner every time, so that way these assholes aren't just winning on a fucking plurality. They actually get the majority of the vote. It's instant runoff voting, so it's several runoff elections right in a row. You rank the candidates. The last place candidate gets their votes redistributed until eventually there's a majority winner. Instant runoff voting is the best, most fairest electoral system that a winner-take-all system, a presidential system, can have. I don't want a parliamentary system. I've thought about it, but I like the presidential system, and the best voting mechanism for a presidential system that, like what we have right now, winner takes all, right? Only one winner, everybody else is losers, is instant runoff voting. That's the fairest way to do that. Bill Maher, you have instant runoff voting. That's how you solve that problem of the spoiler effect of the third parties. But you see, the Democrats are against the instant runoff voting. The Republicans are against instant runoff voting. They don't want independence. They're anti-third parties. Third parties is where the anti-slavery party, the women's right to vote party came. So many good ideas come from third parties. In fact, that's where all the new ideas come from. These two old fucking two-party systems, the only way they can stick around and stay in power is by stealing these good ideas. We need good ideas. Good ideas is gold in a democracy, so it's currency. Good ideas are currency, and we need third parties and independents, if at the very least, for their ideas. But for a robust conversation, for a robust democracy, the best ideas should prevail. So how do you get the best ideas out there if you're just stuck in a two-party dictatorship where it's really just one, war, big business party? Immigration, big business, anti-marijuana. I'm being very serious when I call him a third-party racist. He's against racist against third parties. He's against all fucking third parties. He wants to bitch about Jill Stein, but he doesn't mention Gary Johnson, who took more votes away. So, you want to get pissed off about me about the purist thing. Well, I'm against the fucking war. I'm against the war. Bill Maher would have been back in slavery and been like, here's one pro-slavery candidate, here's another pro-slavery candidate, vote for the lesser of the evils. And, perhaps you might say that that's acceptable, that's what you should do in a democracy. I disagree. I think it's unacceptable. I think, Cornel West is absolutely right. It is unacceptable. You're in favor of slavery? Fuck you. What about, Native American genocide? Fuck you. What about being against women's right to vote? So that's what it looks like to me with instant runoff voting. With instant runoff voting, that's the fair way to vote. But the Republicans and the Democrats are criminal and corrupt, and they don't want any competition. So what do? How do we get instant runoff voting enacted? Then that means the elections will continue to be unfair. Then we'll continue to pick our horses and then disparage all the rest. Instant runoff voting forces you to respect each other's candidacies because you'll want their number 2 votes. You could sit there and just roll your fucking eyes, Bill Maher, but if we had instant runoff voting, then I have Jill Stein because I love her and she's the best goddamn fucking politician who's ever walked the face of this earth. She's of MLK ilk kind of quality. She's a fucking badass. And the Democrats can't see that because they're fucking stuck up their own goddamn asses. Instant runoff voting, you can see, okay, I still think, Hillary's a better choice or whatever, but Jill Stein is a good person. I hope your second choice is for Hillary. Now we're talking. Now we're respecting each other. Give independents a fair shot, a fair chance, and quit being a fucking cunt. Just being like, well, you never win because why? There's gerrymandering and all this, electoral college. Until Bill Maher wants to fix this electoral system, until we have a fair electoral system, he can just shut his shit mouth. Shut your shit mouth, Bill Maher. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up, Bill Maher. You piece of shit. You right-wing fucking Democratic fucking stooge, you fucking kiss-ass, Yes, Pelosi and Schumer, they say DACA. Good. But Obama did deport a shit ton of people last year. Why are we doing that? Why do we keep on slipping to the right? You keep on choosing lesser of the two evils, and then, here we are now. The Democrats are the Republicans. So there's war issues. There's Goldman Sachs. There's marijuana. There's the border wall. So the 1%, an economic issue, there's military issues, there's social issues. She's wrong on every fucking thing. She's a shitty candidate. You want me to vote for a pro-slavery or a pro-slavery candidate? Both are for slavery, both are fucking evil, both are crap, both are for the war, both are crap, both are for Goldman Sachs, both. I'd say that I'm being extreme with the slavery or the American, Native American genocide issue. If one candidate wants to exterminate Native Americans and the other one just wants to put them on concentration camps, they're both fucking evil. They're both fucking evil. Fuck both of them. Yes, I can say that. Yes, I can say that these candidates are unacceptable to me. The reason why I mention it, because that's essentially the issue that we're faced with instant runoff voting. Right now, we have a political system that will not allow instant runoff voting to happen. Until we fix the elections, nothing else fucking matters. It's one of the basic fundamental tenets. Until the elections are fixed, until we have a fair election, a election that welcomes all newcomers, welcomes all new ideas. You know, everybody has a platform, everybody gets a chance, everybody gets the spot on the debate, everybody gets a spot on the ballot, right? You get your signatures, you get your qualifications, you've been living in that district for however long, then you deserve the same privileges that any other candidate that would run. Financing of elections would do that too. We need to get money out of politics, electoral college, and superdelegates. A lot of fucking bullshit that's happening with our democracy. We don't hit the 50% threshold, so there's no democratic elections. We don't redo these elections, even if they're illegitimate, which doesn't make 100%, doesn't make 100% sense to me. Now, instant runoff voting is essentially, slavery is way bigger of an example, but instant runoff voting is looking at a political system that is inherently against it. And we can't have a fair system unless we have instant runoff voting. So what the fuck do we do? Well, how do we get instant runoff voting to become the law of the land when the political institutions and the players are against it? So just like slavery, if you're a black person, would you vote for, the pro-slaver on the right or the pro-slaver on the left? You should vote against both of them, and actually you should really look at your circumstances. Unfortunately, there wasn't very many good answers, right? You could go Nat Turner, but then they would hang you. Or you could go like George Washington, only judge who ran away from George Washington so she could get complete freedom, but she had to live as an outlaw for the rest of her life. So do you run away from the plantation? I feel like if you're a slave on the plantation, sticking with the plantation, sticking with that way of life is not a fucking answer. You want to, endure that shit until you get to the next fucking step, but that is not your way of life. What if we just stay here on the plantation and just be a bunch of fucking slave nobodies, a bunch of bitch-ass fucking cunts? Let's be non-human, resources. Let's have no soul and just be this man's tool so he can make a shit ton of money. Let's work for free for the rest of our life, have no self-worth, no self-dignity, nothing. So sticking with the current political situation, the political options that slaves had was, they couldn't vote themselves out of it, so they had to go a different route. And that's what I'm saying with the Green Party, with instant runoff voting. We have to go a different route. We can't go through the Democrats or the Republicans, so we have to do something different. We have to have fair elections. We got to do something different, but unfortunately the political establishment, like a slave, there's no political options. Can you vote yourself away? Yeah, I guess in the long term slavery was voted out. But if you're a slave in the plantation in the 1820s, can you wait another 30 fucking years before you get your chance at freedom? And so, I think I can't hate a slave for running to run away. I can't hate a slave for wanting to attack, all the whites during that time period. So, instant runoff voting, it's a bias against independence. It's a bias against third party. It's, third party racist, anti-third party racist. So these pieces of shit, it's not slavery, but it's kind of getting into a wage slavery, a de facto kind of slavery, but it's not, as drastic as Stark. What I'm suggesting is have a multi-pronged approach. If we need to do more direct action campaigns, if we need to have more political coalitions, if we need the Green Party, if we need to infiltrate the Democrats, if we need Bernie to run.
It doesn't work. And the fact of the matter is, my party has talked a great game about cutting taxes and cutting spending. We do a terrible job. We don't cut spending. We've consistently just kept rolling.
All right, so while he's rambling on about whatever the fuck he's screeching on about, he's just talking. But so whatever that troll is trolling on about, right, just trolling the world there, man. Bill Maher had a joke about Q-tips. He says he sticks his Q-tips in his canal and he's not afraid of who knows it. That's a pretty funny joke. He's entertaining. I think about Kyle Kalinske. Kyle Kalinske, he hates Bill Maher so much, but he rides Bill Maher's dick whenever he watches the show, right? He watches the show and then he has to, shit on him the day after. So Kyle Kalinski's kind of a dick riding, but I don't know. I guess it's important that he does. Somebody needs to speak up against this shit, but aren't you kind of elevating him too? He needs more YouTube.
You can't ignore the fact that Trump exists because we had an African-American president for 8 years. Okay, but Trump exists because he chose to run for the first time a woman who was a perceived third-termer, was a perceived Clinton, and all these...
A real Clinton.
Real Clinton. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Right on you.
Thank you.
But really, all these things lined up.
Okay,
stars. These stars.
Right, but the stars about the erasing what the black president did, that didn't start with Donald Trump. That started with Nixon's Southern strategy.
Good point, Bill Maher.
Okay, I'm amused.
I can't stand it half the time.
Talk about Donald Trump and his racist ways. Where did they think the racists were before this? In the Green Party?
I'm talking over that.
And there are other...
You made a joke about the Green Party.
That's watching all these Republicans talk about Donald Trump and his racist ways. Where did they think the racists were before this? In the Green Party?
And there are other things that I...
So them attacking us by being purist, that's I'm purely against slavery, I'm purely against the war, I'm purely against poverty, I'm purely against the failed democracy, I'm purely for the 99%. So, you know, I'm purely against racism. So that's, I think we're your allies too. And in fact, we're the ones, you want to blame us, you should pay attention to us. You should listen to us. And we have principles. And a lot of Democrats don't have principles. So I would like a party of principled people versus a party of a bunch of sycophant follower, you know, compromise and fucking, you know, kiss-ass little. So he likes the Green Party, right? What are they? The racists came from the Green Party? Come on.
Brian Kilmeade took his swipe. Jimmy Kimmel responded, and this is like ether of 2017.
I also got some words that were not so nice, particularly from our friends at Fox and Friends. Some of these politically charged Emmys may have been the lowest rated in history, but that's not stopping Hollywood elites like comedian Jimmy Kimmel for pushing their politics on the rest of the country. Watch. Thanks, Brian. That was Brian Kilmeade. And the reason I found this comment to be particularly annoying is because this is a guy, Brian Kilmeade, who whenever I see him kisses my ass like a little boy meeting Batman. Oh, he's such a fan. This has been the show. He follows me on Twitter. He asked me to write a blurb for his book, which I did. He calls my agent looking for projects. He's dying to be a member of the Hollywood elite. The only reason he's not a member of the Hollywood elite is because nobody will hire surgery. He's going to have 2 more. And because of that, I learned that there are kids with no insurance in the same situation. I don't get anything out of this, Brian, you phony little creep. Oh, I'll pound you when I see you. That is my blood.
So he just basically threatened to attack him. That's verbal terrorism and that terroristic threatening, and what they were doing in the early 2000s. You threaten somebody, you know, it's not just a threat, it's terroristic threatening. Next time I see you, I'll pound you. Now, I'm in favor of Jimmy Kimmel's position, but he just strikes me as a fucking dick. Jimmy Kimmel is just such a fucking arrogant right-wing. You know, the fact that he dips a little bit into the healthcare debate, like he barely dips into it, and maybe Brian Kilmeade was trying to shame him into, like, his position or some shit because he likes, you know, Jimmy Kimmel, but so it says...
What we're doing on our show is we're talking to the people in the fray and the analysts on both sides. Last night, Jimmy Kimmel personally attacked me. What I do is I do this morning show so I can't see it, but I got up and had a chance to look at the clip. And this is what I would like to say on this. Hope your son gets better. I hope your son gets all the care he needs. I'm glad you're interested. You're causing the you're doing a great job bringing the dialogue out, but you should actually do what we're doing. Talk to the people that wrote it. Yeah, Senator Graham, Senator Cassidy, asking tough questions to Michael, and we'll see where we go from here. About me and you personally, yeah, I did this thing called Request an Interview for an up-and-coming talk show host who did a great job on Fox Sports, and even when you weren't getting great ratings, I thought you and the show was excellent. When I was at American Idol across the street at the finale, I walked over at least 2 years, maybe 3 years, and you were kind enough to give an interview to me. I thought the pieces went great. I didn't care. Kimmel was referring to with me is one lead to an interview with Senator Lindsey Graham. So that lead said people out in Los Angeles are really upset, and Jimmy Kimmel taking on Cassidy and Graham. And what I find astounding is Cassidy came on because Jimmy Kimmel came on his show because Jimmy Kimmel's son tragically was born with a heart defect, and great surgeons kept him alive, and he's got to have future heart operations. It reminds me a lot of what Brett Baer's son went through, and Brett wrote a book about that. So when Cassidy comes out as co-author of this plan, he calls out Cassidy. So what we did is have Graham and Cassidy on over the last 2 days to find out what this was actually about. And Jimmy Kimmel did not like that introduction to the Graham segment and decided to take a personal attack on me. Now, I went over this. I'm going to post my response on television. Essentially, he went on to say, went on to see what?
No, we have the Kimmel cut if you want to hear it.
The whole thing?
So I'm actually on the side of Jimmy Kimmel on this, but I kind of don't like him. He just irks me the wrong way. So I did like Jimmy Kimmel when he stood up against Jay Leno. He was like, God, you're a millionaire. Let Conan have his job. Like, you've been working there forever. So I like when Jimmy Kimmel took that issue. I like when he's taken the right issue on health care. This is actually such an easy, simple issue that it's kind of amazing that, that's the reason why Jimmy Kimmel is such a lot of liberals, like Kyle Kalinske just talks on and on about how great Jimmy Kimmel is. But, he just threatened him, right? That was an assault. Is Kyle Kalinske is going to mention that? He'll probably be like that other guy, oh, my God, he was so great. The Sam Cedar replacement, he was acting like I could add nothing to that. He's like, next time I see you, I'll pound you. And for what? I mean, Brian Kilmeade introduced that one guy, he kind of baited him a little bit, and then he called him the Hollywood elite who's in her. Somebody said the truth. Zeke is right. Zeke's got a good analysis on this.
Something that could be considered complex, like a policy idea that could be considered complex, accessible to people who aren't necessarily in politics. Like, it seems obvious to us because we live it, we breathe it, it's every.
It absolutely is obvious, though, and you give Jimmy Kimmel way too much credit. Like, yeah, he spoke the right issue on, 2 issues, on the Conan O'Brien debacle and on health care, but he's a right-wing conservative, so I feel like, what's his fucking counterpart? What's that asshole's name? He goes around and says some of the craziest right-wing bullshit ever. He acts like he's this fucking great commentator, this great conservative commentator. The Man Show, who was it? Jimmy Kimmel, and then the other guy, they made fun of him, like saying that he was a dick sucker. And so eventually Kimmel, got an independent seat, right? He became a free agent. Now he's doing his own thing. But so what? The 2 things that Brian Kilmeade did do, he did introduce Jimmy Kimmel's into his name into the debate. Jimmy Kimmel's name was already kind of in the debate because he was the only one saying that, we need universal health care. He was stunned that there was actually people who didn't have health insurance, and, if he didn't have all that money to help his kid, he don't know what the fuck would happen. Like, what the fuck do you do? Do some John Q shit, take over the goddamn hospital? Yeah, I think you would have to. You're going to wait for the Democrats to get single-payer health care? Hillary Clinton had that one clip where everybody was cheering against single-payer health care. That'll never come to pass. Woo! We'll never get single-payer health care. This is the health care champion that we once had. And then Hillary, I got a clip of her later on, but Jimmy Kimmel, he's threatening him. I'm going to pound you. Nobody seems to mention shit about that. Now, this thing with Kilmeade almost seems to be heartbroken. I do kind of feel sorry for Kilmeade in this whole thing, but except for the point that Kilmeade started it, okay? So Kilmeade had started it, and here.
From that.
All right, some of these politically charged Emmys may have been the lowest rated in history, but that's not stopping Hollywood elites like comedian Jimmy Kimmel for pushing their politics on the rest of the country. Watch. Is he actually portraying the Graham Cassidy bill properly last night on his late night show? Joining us now is Senator Lindsey Graham, one of the co-sponsors of that bill. Senator, he went off on you and Senator Cassidy directly.
Well,
So, in that segment, you have Brian Kilmeade saying, he went off on you, Lindsey Graham, and the other guy directly. How do you feel about that? This is your chance on the air to tell the world how you feel. You would have to confront him to his face, right? You could just say he's inaccurate or some shit, but he's the baiter. He's the instigator. I don't know if you ever had, like, an argument with somebody, and then somebody is standing in the middle, and they're like, oh, like, they make it so much worse. It's like, I'm called Kimmy the Hollywood elite, right? I guess Kimmel just, he actually accepted that term. Okay, fine, I'm part of the Hollywood elite, so that actually kind of elevates him. So he mentions that he's part of the Hollywood elite and that he's entering into the healthcare industry. Who the fuck is Brian Kilmeade, right? Is he the Fox News elite? So, I don't know what justification, what moral basis does anybody have to speak about healthcare whatsoever? Maybe the healthcare experts, but even then, in a democracy, I very much respect the people's belief in things. So I think that everybody can understand this healthcare debate. So where Kilmeade fucked up was he was baiting him, and he was kind of like, he attacked you directly, Lindsey Graham. What do you think? Now, he got a talk show, so he's got to get some reaction on his program. But he's the baiter. He's the guy that says, oh, snap, oh, no, he didn't. And it just could be, a small little point, like you're not,
Is that the...
Hillary said she's the Paula Revere.
It's
pretty clever. She's the Paula Revere.
What Putin's strategy is. He really doesn't like democracy. He thinks it's...
Zach Galifianakis did ask Hillary Clinton if she would lead the Civil War if she lost. And I wonder if she actually took that to heart, so it might have turned out to be one of the most important interviews she had actually, did or done. So, accomplished, conducted. So, Jimmy Kimmel on this Brian Kilmeade thing, the last thing I'm going to mention, just in my summary, that Brian Kilmeade was the baiter. Oh, snap, no, he didn't. So he was kind of like saying, so, Lindsey Graham, guess what he said? He said, your wife's a whore. What do you think about that? And then, so he called him a Hollywood elite. He says he's interjecting into the healthcare thing, and then he kind of, was pressing this charge onto Lindsey Graham. So,
doubt about our democracy. I mean, these latest revelations.
God, okay, so Jimmy Dore, he's like, we have 2 live shows. Okay, Jimmy Dore, you carnival barking son of a bitch. I like Jimmy Dore. He's funny, and he's right about a lot of issues, but he's selling tickets, so it's good that he's able to make some money. But, when he's like, we're all going to die, and for him, the apocalypse is hilarious. Donald Trump is great for comedians, but horrible for humanity. So when he says he's not going to impeach Trump, all I hear is that he wants Trump to stay around fucking the world up so he could keep on making jokes and making money. So I'm glad he's making money. I'm glad he's able to, make a career out of this thing. He's an important voice, but just know the limitations of a Jimmy Dore. He's looking for the laugh. He's looking for the ticket sales. So as long as he can keep on getting you to look at him, that's all that, ultimately, hopefully he keeps on being moral and just, and he keeps on taking the right issues of most issues. But honest, I think Jimmy Kimmel kind of jumped the gun a little bit. Maybe Jimmy Kimmel could have been hurt, and this is how Jimmy Kimmel takes it out. So, he says, I'll pound you next time, you creepy little shit. So he kind of, he is digging into his personality, and he kind of went all out. And all Kilmeade did was say that he interjected himself into the conversation. Then he was, pushing the words on Lindsey Graham. So Kilmeade had inserted himself into the debate. And so it seems like both of these assholes, since they are on the opposite part of the debate, and they kind of, instead of just saying let's agree to disagree, or let's disagree without being disagreeable, instead they're like, oh, you disagree with me, huh? Well, fuck you. So I think Jimmy Kimmel actually kind of went above and beyond. So what, Kilmeade mentioned your fucking name, and he said something that you said. You did say it, Jimmy Kimmel, and then you threatened the guy. You said you're going to pound him. Oh, that's just like fucking Trump, right? You're threatened to pound him on your TV show. Are you actually going to pound
anger, his disappointment in the collapse of the Soviet Union, and his feeling that we're his #1 rival. He wants to really undermine the European-American alliance. And so I see it as, I was doing my job. I was honored to do.
Eventually, Hillary's going to get to the point where she is meeting with Putin. She just showed up, right? So just an uninvited guest just showing up out of nowhere. So Hillary she would have bombed Syria. She wouldn't have told Russia about it, even though the Russians were taking the correct position on this. Everybody was calling for diplomacy. Gary Johnson with the Aleppo moment, he was the one with the right answer. He said diplomacy. But these Hillary Clinton kiss asses, including Sink Ugar, and then, by default, all of his kiss asses, the whole gang, JR and Jimmy Dore and Anna Kasparian, he's the boss, right? He's the head oppressor, and they're all his kids.
Man-spreading.
So Putin does man-spreading, right?
And every time I met with him, it would be, okay, the whole deal. And so I'd go to meetings with him. One in particular, we were in his dacha outside of Moscow, and the press comes in, and he just berates America about one of the many things that annoys him about us. And then the press leaves, and I've got 4 or 5 things we're trying to deal with him and Russia on. And I always came to my meetings with him trying to find something that I could actually engage him about. So we went through, the economy and human rights and all these other things that are critically important. And he was, as President Obama once said, like the bored guy in the back of the room. He couldn't care less. Then I said, I am really pleased to hear that you care about wildlife conservation and that you are trying to save species in Russia, like Siberian tigers and polar bears. Then he came alive, and then we had an interesting conversation. So
I wrestle polar bears.
Yeah, I wrestle. No, he said to me. So he said, "Come with me." He takes me down the stairs, down this corridor, into the door. All of his security guys are jumping up because we weren't expected. Into this inner sanctum with this huge desk, and the biggest map of Russia I think exists. And he started telling me he's going here to tag polar bears. And then he says to me, would your husband like to come? And I said, well, you know, I'll ask him, but if he's busy, I'll go.
Oh, man, Hillary, you really got him. You really got him there. Did you actually go, though? I doubt in my mind that Putin is sexist, but I also think that with sexism, right, they're gentle to the, you know, to the lesser sex, what they would say. So, I don't know. I mean, he's talking to you, he's meeting with you, and that polar bear tagging thing, I don't think Hillary would want to do that. She's like, well, I would like to go, and then everybody laughed, so she got, you know, the applause line that she was looking for. But if Putin would have been like, you want to go? She wouldn't have gone. And then you want to sit there and talk about man-spreading. I mean, she's like taking that whole couch up and, you know, that whole chair there. So that's, you know, people take up space. So, you know, I think that people can take up too much space where they're man-spreading and, like, you know, getting into your space. That's, you know, like on buses or some shit or on the airplane, that would suck. But just because you like, you know, lots of leg room, that's not a bad thing, okay? Men are big, and so they need leg room, and they got, you know, dicks in between their legs. You want to go tag polar bears, so I wonder if that's killing polar bears or actually to, like, you know, tranquilize them and put a tag on them so you can count how many there are. I guess that's what tagging polar bears is. Hillary, I guarantee you, did not go to tag any damn polar bears with Putin. She, remember when that shoe came thrown at her, she didn't even duck. It makes me think of Bill Burr. Bill Burr, he says that women fall just so they don't even try to, you know, comfort the blower, put their hands out. It's like they've never fallen over ever in their life, and so they just fall over so awkwardly that, you know, she's not a tough person. She's not Annie Oakley. She's not going to rough it out into the wilderness. So, you know, with that shoe came over her head, she's like, is that Surf du Soleil? Huh? What is this? Trying to make a joke out of the thing, but, you know, Bush was like, you know, he fucking dodged them damn shoes, but she was kind of like, what, is that a bat? What is that? You know, she would have got drilled by the damn shoe. The point I'm going to make is that that's sexist, right? If inviting her husband to bear shooting, he's also Bill fucking Clinton too, right? So he's internationally known, he's the ex-president. Come on, like, would your husband like to go tagging polar bears with me? I bet you Bill Clinton would be more interested in tagging polar bears than Hillary. So, but if that's sexist, right, if there is a man that come over to my house and then I was like, hey, you know, if your wife ever wanted to go, I don't know, shopping for dresses or some shit, I would think that that's like a nice gesture, right? That's a nice gesture. I'm not trying to be rude or disrespectful to you. Are you a dress shopper? I didn't know. Okay, you dressed. You know, your big thing is shopping for dresses. If you're a dude, that kind of would shock me. But if that's your thing, that's your thing. I'm totally in favor of that. But that's sexist. But Brian Kilmeade, you know, terroristic threatening of Jimmy Kimmel. I'm going to pound you. I'm going to pound you. Did Putin threaten